Live tonight from the virtual Crandon International Raceway in Crandon, Wisconsin, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 2 of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship. It's another Wednesday night of sim racing action here on Racecraft TV, and we're so happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us. We're alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined by Joshua Lee in the booth as well. He's also pushing the dials and bringing us to you this evening. Josh, gotten our first weekend of this Pro 4 Championship, but anytime you come to the big house, it seems things get a little bit more serious. And of course, anytime we're talking about Vorrs, we're talking about how critical every race is, right? It is a 6-week championship for these Pro 4 truckers, and it was Keaton Swain winning that opener at Bark River. We move into tonight, first of 2 trips to Crandon. We will be back here in December to close out the 2021 championship in just a little bit. But one of the 4 off-road tracks on the iRacing service. It is also, Josh, one of the biggest to talk about. Keaton Swain getting that win last week. Well, that is big for him. Been starting his hopes towards a championship. Started up front, won that feature race from the top position, and therefore will lead the championship points coming into this evening. But with that points spread, you can see being only 2 points per position, it doesn't really give him much, I think, to be comfortable about coming into this race.
Taking a look at those point standings, no surprise who is up at the top. It's Keaton Swain, Josh Edmondson, the top 2. You have to go a ways back to find Luke Canup. Keaton Swain, he is the favorite coming in to today's round. Josh Edmondson still right behind. Keaton Swain has a lot of drivers who are going for that spot at the top of the field. You talk about Christopher Plumley, Felix Roy, Shea Price. They're a little bit farther back, but still within striking distance. Roy only 8 points back. Price only 10 points back. You go all the way down through this top 10, still within striking distance of each other, and those points in the feature are going to be huge tonight in determining who's going to walk out of this track in Crandon with the points lead.
Our format very similar to what you saw in the week number 1.
Yeah, only thing different is we're going to add one more last chance qualifier to the mix. We have a little bit more drivers who are entering into this event. So instead of 1 LCQ taking the top 3, we're going to have 2 LCQs taking the top 2. So we're going to have a grand total of 16 drivers ready to take the green flag for that 12-lap feature. Same in the feature, 12 laps, competition caution on lap 6, a manual competition caution, so everybody will slow down. We'll have 1 lap under the yellow flag, then pick it right back up on the next lap and go green flag racing from there to the end of the feature. Similar lap time, similar distance to Bark River that we had 1 week ago. But like you mentioned, Evan, Crandon is just a different animal, and these drivers getting ready to take it to the track, and a lot of fast times being laid down as we get started in qualifying.
Qualifying currently underway. It'll split these drivers up into those 2 heat races. Of course, you want to make your job a lot easier and not have to worry about a C main or a B main later on this afternoon, and just get that work out of the way early. With 45 seconds left on the clock, Plumley currently sits at the top of the board,
and the field is getting ready for that historic land rush start, where they all will start in a complete straight line, and they are going to get a standing start and race full speed down towards the first turn. Here we go.
And it will be Christopher Plumley bringing us to the green flag in this one. He'll be joined by the 77 Luke Canup in second. Josh Edmondson, Crystal King will double up for row number 2 ahead of William Booth and Brian Clement, your top 6.
And back from there, looking on the next page, is Thomas Grady, John Binder lining up side by side. Daniel Eisch, James Watson on that 5th row. Bill Lester, Scott Bryant, and Nicholas Matthews are going to round out the drivers who are looking to take the green flag here in heat number 1 from Crandon. And the legendary Land Rush start, Evan, is back. We are going to start these drivers on one of the most insane ways to start a race. Basically all of them lining up in one row and going barreling down into the first corner. This one is going to be fun.
Yeah, I don't really think it gives that much more of a benefit like most tracks do with qualifying to the guys who qualify at the very front. You are side by side at 10 trucks wide on the front row. It may almost pay to be Lester and Bryant on the back because you can avoid some chaos. Green flag in the air. We're racing in heat race number 1 as they storm down and try to blend into the surface. And it looks like Plumley from pole gets through, but his spinner behind. Early issues as Watson and others gets tangled up. Crystal King is turned around.
King was facing the wrong way there for a moment. They continue to race up front as Christopher Plumley tries to pull away, tries to leave everybody in the dust. Bill Lester holds on to that transfer spot for the moment, but take a look at Josh Edmondson trying to go to the outside. Look at Luke Canup to the inside. He competed earlier on today in the iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational before the World Championship. He's up here back in the Pro 4s, back to what he's familiar with in E-Short Course, trying to fight for P2 right now and trying to catch up to Plumley for that race lead as they go on to lap number 1 here from Crandon into the long portion of this course for the first time. A hard braking zone is coming up. A very tight left-hander could lead to some problems or could lead to some success for a lot of these drivers. They can get a pass made.
And then they're going to race themselves down to one of the more iconic parts of this racetrack. That is the hairpin turn. It will swing them wide. Looks like everybody minding their P's and Q's up front and leaving some space. I mean, you're talking about a guy like Luke Canup, one of the top off-road racers on the service. He also races short course and Baja events in the real world. And really did good on the start, moving himself up and into the second position. Further on the back is where things aren't quite so defined. That's Bill Lester getting a move put on him. How about John Binder with a slide with a 3 truck and across right back down to the inside. And they'll race side by side. All of this going on outside the top transfer spots. It's going to come down basically between these two, and there's contact. The 3 cars soften into the grass, and it opens up the door. Here comes on the inside line Thomas Grady.
Lester gets beat out of the way, and take a look. He tried to slide it in, get back into line, but slid it a little bit too far out. He's going to hit the post as well, trying to save that number 3 machine. Binder, Grady, Booth now going to try and pull away. This is the battle for the transfer here. Remember, top 6 advance their way into the feature race off of the heat, and now that battle is between Binder and Grady, but Grady has some pressure behind from Booth. He's trying to run away from Booth and get up to the back bumper of a Binder. Can't do it. Battle up front continues between Edmondson and Canup. Canup back to the bottom after Edmondson was able to take over P2, but they are all facing Christopher Plumley at the front of this field. Plumley doing a great job commanding the lead. It's 2 to go at the line as these two stay side by side for second. Canup into the wall. Edmondson trying to complete the pass as they go over the jump.
Not the mistake that the 77 truck needed, and you can give this spot for the moment to Josh Edmondson. Edmondson made a pass on Christopher Plumley in the feature race last week, sitting 3rd in the championship. Coming into this evening, you ride on board with Christopher. Right-hand side of the screen is off of the back of his number 36 truck. Left-hand side is what he sees, or not really, right? Using those VR goggles, and what he is enjoying is seeing the gap to second and 3rd grow. He slowly builds an advantage over Edmondson, who sits in 2nd, and Canup, who sits in 3rd. It's a big jump then back to Brian Clement, Daniel Aish, and then again John Binder, still the bubble driver in P6. Josh, we talk about how big this full circuit at Crandon is, but that doesn't make 4 laps feel any longer. You have very little time to dig yourself out of a hole if you're one of those drivers on the outside right now.
Yeah, minute 20 lap time, which by no stretch of the imagination is really that long or that short, but just the way that these Pro 4 trucks race, it can feel like 2 seconds goes by just like that in one of these laps. Crandon short feels even shorter than this, and this feels like a short lap time to these drivers. It doesn't feel like a Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps where you can really feel the length of the lap time. It feels like a marathon each lap. Here it's not like that. This goes by incredibly really quickly this first heat, and we're already coming up to this white flag lap. Battle for the transfer hasn't changed too much. It's about a 1.8 second gap for that battle for the transfer spot, so we'll stay on this battle for P1 at the moment, which is more of a battle for P2 further on behind as Edmondson gets by Canup. Canup still trying to get by, or back by Edmondson, I should say. We go on board in the battle for P2. Keep that spot is Josh Edmondson. Can Canup make a move? Here's the hard braking zone. Left-hander. Can Canup make a sliding move to the inside? He's going to stay in line with Edmondson.
Right there in turn 4, one of the best passing opportunities on this track, but Canup wasn't able to make it work. All the drivers opted to go wide on the entry to that corner to build up speed for this long straightaway. That a high-speed right-hander, they're still doing 95 miles an hour through that right-hand kink in turn number 5, and then they'll work into a set of corners through turn number 6. They're going to get right outside on that concrete wall right-hand side of the racetrack, and now almost halfway through the lap. 2 more corners to go on the far side. Plumley looking to hang on and establish a great spot for the feature.
Exactly what Plumley is going to do. Up and over the Polaris RZR jump. Top 3 are going to stay the same, and Plumley, Edmondson, and Canup bring it home in those top 3 spots. But top of the board in heat number 1, Christopher Plumley, exactly what he wanted out of this heat. Battle for the transfer goes to John Binder, who finishes in P6 after starting back in P number 8, fell to 9th at one point, able to walk away with a good finish here in heat number 1. And as Scott Bryant comes across the line, that is going to complete our heat race number 1 here from Crandon, Evan, and what a run it was. We have some fast drivers out here on the track, and that is staying true as you can see it in the top 6 as we transfer over to heat number 2. We'll grab a real quick look at those heat number 1 results.
Hey, the guys just started in the top 3, did their job, right? Plumley, Edmondson, and Canup get the job done, but you mentioned the gains for John Binder. How about Daniel H as well? 5th and 6th in the finishing order, started 9th and 8th on the grid, but by being on the very outside for that land rush start, they're able to avoid some of the contact early to find themselves in. Look for some of the names like Booth and King, who were top 6 drivers in qualifying, to try to make up for that when we go LCQ racing a little bit later on. And back live from the virtual Crandon International Raceway, where Racecraft TV's coverage of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship is continuing tonight with round number 2 of this 2021 title fight. Bark River opened things up 2 weeks ago, and after a set of heat races at LCQs, we are ready for the feature here at Crandon. So let's take a look at your starting grid. The first 10 going to be all alongside each other. Chris Plumley on pole position for this one, alongside heat race number 2 winner Connor Berry. Josh Edmondson starts 3rd ahead of last week's winner Keaton Swain. Luke Canup is 5th, and Cody Retzlaff is 6th.
Back from there down to P12, Brian Clement, Felix Waugh, Daniel Eisch, and Zach Knowles, the top 10. John Binder with Nicholas Deschlet rounding out the top 12, and rounding out the field, only 16 drivers taking the green flag tonight. Crystal King, Josh Clogg, Thomas Grady, and Vinnie McDonald to round out the field.
So this start is going to be the deciding factor in this race. You need to get through it clean. 12 laps and a competition to caution at halfway to watch out for as well. But if you're in the middle, hold on tight. They are 10 by 6 as we say, let's go feature racing at Crandon. 16 trucks, land rush start, and the battle for the lead will break through in front. It's the top 2, but on the very outside, no, I thought it was going to be an advantage out there, but now a big wreck behind, and it all falls apart for Connor Berry.
Berry went up and flying. I believe Luke Canup as well. Take a look at the damage to that number 77 machine. We go back to the front. Plumley able to walk away with the race lead. Here comes Edmondson battling right on that back bumper. Back from there, Keaton Swain now trying to move his way into this top fight as they go 3 wide behind everybody, trying to fight for real estate here at Crandon. They settle it out as they take onto the official first lap of this race, and Plumley is out in front trying to run away from Edmondson.
You basically get a half lap of bonus before they even come by that start-finish line. So just now, as you mentioned, starting lap number 1 of 12, but Chris Plumley was able to use his advantage early to gain the top position in this race. Josh Edmondson sits second, and Keaton Swain sits in third. Funny enough, when you talk about the finishers from last week, all these guys were in the mix, right? Swain won it. He's in third at the moment, and he's ahead of all of that chaos that you see off of the back of Plumley on the right-hand side of your screen, and that is the most critical because it's the worst on the land rush start. And yes, for the trucks in traffic, the competition caution midway will help you, but it's going to be just as chaotic mid-pack in the middle as it was on the start. So getting some space to breathe is so crucial, and so impressed with Christopher Plumley, who has been so perfect so far tonight at Crandon.
Perfect night so far. Qualified on the pole for his heat, won his heat, and was able to start on the pole here for the feature race, and using that to his advantage. But we know very well, Evan, just how this racing works. We have a halfway caution that'll come on lap number 6. That'll bunch the field right back on up. So he can run away all he wants. He knows that we have a caution coming up that's just going to bunch everybody back up into one pack, into one line. So it doesn't matter how far he gets away right now. He knows that in the future, Edmondson's going to be starting right behind him, or whoever takes over P2 will be starting right behind him when we go racing off of that competition caution.
Exactly, and I wouldn't recommend getting too creative if you're Plumley now, but now's the time to try to learn just a little bit, right? And you can see the back of the pack is finally spacing out, but when we restart this race, Plumley's top position will have much more of an advantage than it did on the land rush start, because he's not going to be 10 wide when this race restarts for the second half, so that's important as well. He cannot afford to let Edmondson or Swain get around him. As we take a look at the battle behind, this is all for about 5th position on the back, and that was Felix Waugh on the left-hand side of your screen, putting a slide job and making a move on Brian Clement. Clement made a little bit of a mistake, opened up the door, and you can see Zach Knowles' perspective. He watches this fight from right behind them in position number 7. He'll get to the inside and underneath Clement, so everybody taking advantage of the 483, but Knowles gets roughed up a little bit there. They are physical in this mid-pack battle.
Staying physical as well as they continue to fight. Remember, every position is 2 points. When it's every position is 1 point, makes it a little bit easier to sort of relax and say, okay, I got this amount of points. You know, we're comfortable with that. Here it's 2 points per position, so every position matters even more. Take a look at the dive for Knowles. Gonna be able to cover off Clement, who now goes 3 wide with Binder and Grady there. Knowles gonna try and pull away from P6, but the battle up front has become a battle once again, Evan. Here comes Edmondson looking for that race lead as they race down the hill. They'll go into lap number 4, already about halfway through this first run before the competition caution. It is looming over these drivers' heads.
And Josh Edmondson is one of the best drivers who can make up positions in a feature. You know, he's a multi-time Pro 2 world record holder, but he can hold his own in these Pro 4s as well. And last week, he was able to gain a position in the feature to end up on the podium in 3rd. He wants to do the exact same thing here. So he's a driver who could make up from a lack of track, positioning, and that's what he's trying to do now. But he's going to have an issue here because that 21 machine behind him, and Keaton Swain is all over the back of him, and Swain looks poised to be more aggressive than Edmondson was. Edmondson got to the race leader there, really didn't rough him up. Swain is all over him, as you can see from this onboard perspective, and it may put that much more urgency to Josh Edmondson, knowing that if he doesn't get up top quickly, Keaton Swain's going to be all over him, and that could force him even further down the running order if Swain could get the upper hand.
And Swain might have the upper hand when we get bunched back up with that competition yellow, but he's still right there, just cannot get close enough to make that pass work. It might look easy to pass when a lot of viewers tune in, Evan, just by how close together a lot of these drivers run, but even when you're right on the back bumper of another truck, it's pretty difficult to make a move, especially just because the working lines really only is about as wide as the trucks themselves. You need to go into a different line to make a pass. You can see just how much Swain is trying to get under Josh Edmondson to make that move work. Just could not do it. He hit that inside wall when trying to make that move work. You need to be cautious. You don't want to just flat out wreck the driver in front of you to make a pass, but sometimes it does require a little bit of roughing up to be able to complete a pass in these Pro 4 trucks, just because it's so difficult to go into another line to try and make a pass, because once you do that, you're losing grip, you're losing momentum, you're losing that pass.
Well, we've seen trucks flip, right, by getting onto the berms on the inside of the corners. Swain's been very aggressive with that tonight, and by clipping that wall that last time through this part of the racetrack, he cost himself some significant time, and it gives Edmondson an opportunity to breathe, to reset as they go through the barn turn. This is a wide, sweeping left-hander for turn number 6, and you talk about the difficulty of passing in these trucks. You do have the four-wheel drive, but getting that 700 and 900 horsepower to grip up on the corner is challenging when you're slowing down to 30 miles an hour and a lot of these hairpins. You need to really have time for this thing to grip up, and you want to shoot straight off of the corners. Plumley now takes lap number 6 one more time around, and as we have reached halfway through, there is your competition caution. So mission accomplished for Christopher Plumley. Josh, he had a little bit of a challenge from Edmondson early in the first half. He held him off, and he most importantly secures that #1 spot for the restart, which I think will be big.
And he gets a little bit of breathing time here as well, can sort of reevaluate exactly what he has been doing. And remember, this is a manual caution. It is not thrown inside of iRacing, so all the drivers will have to follow a specific mile-per-hour limit of 30 miles per hour on this racetrack right now. And everybody, gentlemen's agreement to have this lap be the caution, and then once they cross the start-finish line or reach the restart zone, I should say, here on this lap, lap number 6, they'll take the green flag once again. We will go back to racing for the final 6 laps of this race, and this is where it gets really interesting to watch, Evan, because now everybody's bunched back up. So if you had a driver that you might have been faster than, you just let them get a little bit too far ahead to where you couldn't complete the pass. Now's the time to be able to do it. They're going to take that restart zone, and really that first corner before the start finish line is going to be the first opportunity these drivers will have to pass, and that's a pretty big passing opportunity if you can get down to the inside of one of these trucks and move them up out of the way and try and complete that pass.
It's also going to be your best opportunity to move somebody, right? As you get into a braking zone this close, it may be awfully physical. Plumley, right foot down. The green flag is back in the air for the second half of this feature from Crandon, and it is a critically good start for Plumley. He'll open an advantage. Now Swain's looking to the inside on Josh Edmondson in the fight for second. Swain way on the inside, gets the track position early, but he doesn't get the run off in the corner. Edmondson defends, and here comes Connor Berry on the inside. They'll touch for third. Connor Berry trying to make up for a poor start. He's back on the podium.
Berry moved himself up into these top spots with that move. Now trying to chase down his teammate at Jim Beaver Esports, Josh Edmondson. Big question is, will he be able to do it? You're on board with the number 28 of Berry right now as he tries to chase down Edmondson. Gonna let him get a little bit too far ahead here. What's gonna happen is they dive into the hairpin corner. Sending it in is Berry. Not able to do anything on Edmondson, but Swain's not letting anybody get away in front of him either. Everybody races single file back into the middle portion of the course here at Crandon. 5 to go at the line. Plumley looking to put a capitalization on this feature.
And all those big jumps there through that right-hander don't even count as quarters on this 12-turn, 1.5-mile circuit. Just that right-hander there by the barn, the left-hander, I should say, counts as an actual turn on the track map for turn number 6. And up front, you know that Christopher Plumley's expecting the challenge. But what do we see between Barry and Edmondson, right? Barry was very aggressive, moving Keaton Swain out of the way. I would expect the 21 truck to repay the favor if he can, as he'll squeeze very tight on the inside of turn number 8 there, but he can't establish the position. But if you're Barry, do you drive your teammate Josh Edmondson the same way? That's something to look for as we look off of the back. A race leader, Chris Plumley, he finished 4th in the season opener. He has led every single lap that he has raced so far, but he has not been able to open up the advantage he did in the first half. Edmondson steady within about 3/10.
Trying to keep that gap up is seeming to be a little bit difficult for Edmondson. He's been the bridesmaid before. This is unfortunately a familiar spot for Josh Edmondson. Finished 3rd at Bark River 1 week ago, and we've unfortunately seen Edmondson just be second fiddle a lot. He can get up to the front. We know he can run up there. Just in the past, he has had so many fast drivers to deal with that unfortunately he's dealing with them again here in this series as they continue to race on. It'll be 4 to go this time by, and this is really the big test. Can Edmondson make the move on Plumley, and how aggressive is he willing to get to make the move? He peaks down to the bottom, but the same thing we've been talking about, getting those tires to grip up and keeping the momentum. Can't do it through the middle of that final corner. With 4 to go, Plumley's back out in front.
And very impressed that these drivers have kept it clean thus far in this battle. 4, 1, 2, and 3. And when you include Keaton Swain in the mix as well, you talk about who finished 1, 2, 3, 4 last week. Swain 1, Barry 2, Edmondson 3, and Plumley 4. Josh, it's the same cast of characters fighting for the race win this afternoon from virtual Crandon International Raceway. Edmondson, though, still oh so close. I mentioned off at the top of the show, Cam Peterson, the defending Pro 2 champ both in 2020 and 2021. Much of his wins came at the hands of Josh Edmondson. So Edmondson is tired of finishing second, and he is a serious title contender in this 2021 Pro 4 championship. He got close that time in 6th, but it's very clear Edmondson has got confidence in his race pace, and he does not feel like he needs to move Plumley quite yet. This time by, though, the go over the RCR ramp, right-hander, where you got to watch that inside wall in turn number 8, and they'll see 3 laps to go. How long does the patience last?
He's got to stay patient at least on 3 laps to go. Once we get to 2 to go, the attitude definitely will change. But if I'm Edmondson right now, I'm thinking about where I want to make that move. Where can I make that move for the race win? With Plumley in the lead right now, he needs to try and get close enough to at least be within contention for the race win. Here's the dive to the inside for Edmondson now. Can he complete the pass? They're side by side down the straightaway. The momentum on the outside line holds Plumley to the front of the pack.
Tried his best to park it on the left rear, but Plumley stays in front, and I think that switch has flipped for Edmondson. If he makes any sort of misstep, his teammate Connor Barry is right there in 3rd to pick up the pieces. So is Swain, as Barry got a little bit of that outside fence in turn number 6. Seems to be one of the most common places that people are taking some missteps this afternoon. A little bit water for the top 2. Barry looking underneath, can't make it happen, and this turn 8 may be the deciding factor on the last lap of this race. It's one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. They're into the 20s as they come through. 2 laps to go. Plumley is still hanging on, but it is for dear life as Josh Edmondson is turning up the heat.
trying to get that lead is Edmondson. Don't count out Barry behind him. Don't count out Swain either. These three drivers are racing all out to try and catch Christopher Plumley at the front of the field. It's one to go this time by. It'll be the white flag lap, the real test of these drivers. Edmondson back to the bottom. He door slams the 36 of Plumley. More contact for Barry. He falls victim to Swain. They bump once more as they go back into the corner. Here comes Swain into the picture in the battle for the lead.
He'll put a door on Josh Edmondson, but Edmondson shakes that one off. What a battle for the top four. Now a big mistake for Edmondson. He gets dropped back. Swain will slide back into P4, but now here he comes on the inside of Connor Berry. No, fakes it out. He'll go the long way around. Plumley gets doored by Connor Berry as he hangs on. 3 wide for second. Here comes Edmondson again on the inside. White flag this time. It's 3 wide for the race lead.
Where did Connor Berry come from? 3 wide to the inside line, trying to take that lead. Plumley trying to force him off. Berry's cattywampus over the jump. He slams Plumley again. 1, 2, 3 times. Berry's starting to go around. Here comes Felix Waugh. He's into the picture. Plumley's gonna fall middle 3 wide, back into P4, and Josh Edmondson grabs the lead. Here comes Swain, side by side with Connor Berry, forces him into the corner. Swain's gonna take the lead. Here comes Edmondson to fight back on the inside.
Swain went for the slide, but he could only block Barry. Edmondson got the nose in front again on the right-hand side. Big, high-speed right-hander as Josh Edmondson desperately trying to hang on. Swain now in second, Barry third. Now Plumley wants to get back into the mix, and Felix Waugh has joined the party again. Side by side for the race lead. 2 corners left. Swain on the bottom will try to set himself up. He's got a nose in front, but Edmondson over the jump will be on the inside for the deciding turn number 8. One last chance, and it is Josh Edmondson. What a win at Crandon.
What a way to finish. Edmondson, Swain, and Barry the top 3. Unbelievable final 2 laps there, Evan. We had 5 trucks in contention for the race win at one point. Unbelievable, but problems on the final lap for Christopher Plumley. Take a look at the incident. He goes from hero to 0, P14 at the end for Plumley.
It's the same wall that bit Swain earlier in the night. Plumley just got way out of shape, and when he got the wall, he was okay, but right there, he had a little bit of help, and once those front 2 tires went over, 4-wheel drive ain't gonna help you if the cradle of that race truck is stuck on the barrier, and that is big in the championship because Plumley had a real good shot at a race win here this afternoon. Josh, worst case scenario for him was probably 5th, right? Even if Felix Waugh got around him, he still would have cashed about 42 points. Instead, he doesn't even finish in the top 10. As we take a look at your full race results tonight, presented by our partners at Lawrence Equipment and Factory Sim Sport. Josh Edmondson finished 3rd last week. He is your race winner tonight at Crandon International Raceway and scores himself 50 championship points. But Swain was there, Barry was there, and Waugh turned out to be the late entry when those top 4 started beating and banging, who couldn't pick up anymore. He comes home 4th ahead of Zach Knowles. Luke Cadup in 6th. John Binder 7th, with Cody Retzlaff, Nicholas Dashlet, and Brian Clement your top 10.
And back from there, rounding out the drivers who took the green flag here in the feature: Thomas Grady, Josh Clark, Daniel Eisch. There's Christopher Plumley, ends up finishing P14, did not cross the start-finish line on the finish. Crystal King and Vinnie McDonald round out the drivers who took the green flag here from virtual Crandon, and that is how they finish in 16 trucks strong.
To our Josh now, Josh Lee joining me in the broadcast booth. The championship picture only gets tighter, but we'll talk implications in a minute. First, Those last 2 laps may be some of the best off-road truck action I've ever seen here on the sim. I mean, it was gripping stuff. All 5 of the guys in the mix there really had a chance to win that race.
That was exactly what we love about East Short Course. It was everybody going all out for the race win, running inches apart. We didn't know who was going to win until they came across the checkered flag. We thought Plumley had it in the bag. Then here comes Edmondson. Here comes Barry. Here comes Swain. Here comes Watt coming out of nowhere to fight from P5. Plumley fell from 1st down into 3rd, then back into 4th. I believe he was in 5th at one point, then went spinning up onto the barrier and ended up finishing 14th. Only Short Course. That is the only way to describe what happened in those last 2 laps. Can only happen in these off-road trucks in East Short Course. And if this is how Crandon went, this is only round number 2, Evan. We still have 1 more race at Crandon and 4 rounds left in the season.
Yeah, let's just look forward to December 1st when we come back here and crown a champion in round number 6. And we know that all of these tracks are going to bring unique things. And talking to Connor Barra there, he said, he's really excited going into the next race at Wild West Motorsports Park, right? Very different challenge. You're going to have a lot of those slow hairpin corners, which basically defines that racetrack. Very different kind of racing. Expect a lot of those same names to be in the mix. And again, if the first 2 rounds have been any indication, should be a really exciting race as we continue to walk towards crowning a champion.
And it's going to be sort of an indicator race, I feel like, because Bark River and Crandon, you can draw a lot of similarities between those two. Wild West is completely different than both Crandon and Bark River. Like Josh Edmondson said, a lot of hairpins, not a lot of high-speed sweeping corners. Going to be a real test for these drivers and a real good indicator at who is going to start to pull away at the front of the points sheet, because in the first 2 rounds at Bark River and Crandon, it's Keaton Swain, but that could change when we go to Wild West and then Wild Horse Pass right after that.
And we're looking forward to the rest of this championship, and we hope that you join us on Racecraft TV throughout it. Until next time, though, that is it for us here tonight from Crandon. So on behalf of our entire team at Racecraft TV and for the team over at the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series, I want to say a big thanks to our partners at Lawrence Equipment. You can learn more from them at lawrenceequipment.com, and for our friends at Factory SimSport, who provide a setup for the first driver to miss the main event each week. You can learn more from them at factorysimsport.com. You can also use the code VORRS15. That's VORRS15. Get 15% off any setup. So big thanks to them for making all of this possible. But for your broadcast team tonight, for Josh Willie alongside of myself and being the producer this evening, myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you for tuning in, and congratulations to Josh Edmondson. He gets his first Pro 4 win of the year, right in the championship hunt. We're back in 2 weeks' time on Wednesday, October the 20th for the virtual Wild West Motorsports Park. Until then, that race and every race of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship can be found exclusively here on Racecraft TV. Until next time, good night from Wisconsin.